You know what that means? We are back on the Free Me Friday podcast. And this is episode 5. Number of grace, because we're going to need it. Amen. Thank you so much for tuning in. And while you're tuning in, before we even start, I want you to just stop, drop, and roll. Not really. I just really need you to like, get ready to comment, and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. Today, I am so excited. Me and Pinky. She's excited too. I have not one, but two very special guests. Two different relationships, but I love them the same. And I am going to cut up real bad today. I believe this is going to be an awesome episode. And again, before we jump into it, I need you to subscribe right now. Thank you kindly. So, it's a lot of homosexual activity going on in the land. And I think that a lot of people don't believe that you can pray the gay away or that you can get delivered from a homosexual lifestyle or a lesbian lifestyle. Pinky said she don't know if you can either. But you can, Pinky, you can. I've seen it happen because it happened with me. You know what I'm saying? I was playing in the lady pond and then the Lord called me out. And now, I don't do them things no more. So you definitely can be delivered from same-sex attraction, from homosexuality, lesbianism, bisexuality, whatever you want to call it. There is definitely a way of escape if you want it. And my guests today are going to dive into that. I want you to help me welcome these two people that I love with my whole heart. Samuel, baby apostle, welcome to the Free Me Friday podcast.
Thank you for having me. You're so crazy.
Let me pause on him for a second, because when I tell you, I don't like church people. I don't. If y'all have read my story, Preaching in Pain, you know that church folks treated me real bad. So I don't really deal with church folk. A lot of times people forget their testimony. A lot of times people forget where they come from, and they get a little nah. They know how to quote the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and then they kind of turn their nose up at you. So for me, Hershey, I don't really, rock with church people. Some of my friends from high school still in the hood, that's my comfortability. So when I met him, shout out to Ezekiel Azanwu of We Need to Talk podcast, my brother. He unintroduced but introduced us, and we have been close ever since. This is my twin. I love him so much, and ain't nothing you can do about it.
Nothing.
I'll come to Florida and knock on your door. So I thank you publicly for just loving me, for being a friend to me, for being a brother to me, for accepting me with my crazy antics and all of that. I've always felt very welcomed. Me and my bipolar ways. He just loves all of it. So shout out to you. Publicly, I want to thank you not just for being on the platform, but being near and dear to my heart from day one. I'm talking about day one.
Day one.
Literally day one. We have been connected by the hip. So that's town. We're going to get into town in a minute. And this other redhead over here. That's the one right here. Now, she is not a friend. She is not a friend, but she is a spiritual daughter. She was a member of the church that I closed. That's the episode for another day, another time. Y'all know I was pastor for 4 years, and she was a member of the New, and she told me her testimony and what God has brought her out of. And when I tell you, I love happy endings, and I love to see the growth of people. And from when she walked in the church to where she is now, I have seen God glow her up. And I want you to help me welcome Welcome to the Free Me Friday podcast.
Thank you.
She's normally behind the scenes, but now I done pulled her up on the scene. She normally back there doing stuff. But if you've been to my church, you've seen her on the camera at the door doing something, and now she is up here because her testimony is so amazing. Her story is worth listening to. And again, we're going to deal with the addiction, the lifestyle, the doors that open us up to same-sex attraction. She was a bug girl, okay, and he was a good boy, and I want y'all to hear their stories because a lot of times we just think people wake up or we're in a I was born like this kind of generation. We're in a what happened to them? They must have been molested. They must have something happened. So, and we just make all of these assumptions without ever hearing somebody's true story. And so I want to give them an opportunity to dive right into that. So, all right, Pinky, hold on, because you got an opinion. Pinky got an opinion, because some people think that once you go that way, ain't no way you can come up out of that, right? Shut up, Pinky. She's judgmental. Now, I want to start off with Sam. He's so handsome, ain't he? He's so handsome. He's a man's man now, and he's anointed. He's a worshiper. He's a baby apostle. That's what I call him, baby apostle. Okay, he is so anointed. But he has a testimony, and I want you to share. I want you to start at the end of when Samuel was Simone.
From which part?
The transition into
when I transitioned. So I ended up transitioning somewhat around 2012. And I transitioned because at that time I really hated Samuel. I hated Samuel. I hated all the things that I had walked through. I had been bullied. I had went through a lot of rejection and so much in my early years that I just wanted to escape, and I always felt like a woman. I felt very feminine. People told me I was. So I ended up somebody dressed me up one day. It was a Halloween, and they dressed me up and put me in hair and makeup and all the things. And when I looked in the mirror, I was like, wow, I'm really beautiful. And everybody that was in the room felt the same way. And so, but what they were looking at as a one-time thing ended up being a lifestyle for me, because at that time I wanted to transition completely. I was like, maybe this is the person that I should have always been, because it matched with how I felt on the inside. And so what was Halloween themed for them was life for me, because I wanted to escape Samuel. And so I began to start the journey of getting rid of all my clothes and change my name from Samuel to Simone. And I started the journey of just literally living my life as a transgender in Tallahassee, Florida. And I was going to school, and every single day I would go to school, and people saw me as Samuel walk in, but then all of a sudden they saw me as Simone. And that led to so much other stuff, because at that time, in order to keep up with the lifestyle, it wasn't so accepted, so I couldn't really get a real job. It was hard to get a real job, so I started escorting, I started prostituting, so I could make money, so I could keep up with this lifestyle and really just survive. And so I went day after day, putting up ads online, meeting people, making money, traveling, living this life, building this life. Yeah, building this life. And what ended up happening is I actually went to Mexico. I flew to Mexico and got implants. I said that I wanted the biggest breasts they could give me, because I really wanted to change everything. And so I ended up getting 38C implants. And I came back and
tenderness.
that was Pinky. You got your boobies done.
I got the boobies done. I got them done. I know you see.
He done got the boobies done. Some of y'all need y'all's done because they be touching your ankles. But you done went to Mexico
I went to
and
Mexico.
got your boobs done.
I did.
So you were full on transgender.
Mm-hmm.
Pause right there. Now, y'all see how pretty Midori is? She over there looking all nice. Y'all got her heels on and the nails on and the hair and all that. But before you got there, tell me your transition before we got back to this beautiful young lady Did you change your name? What was your girl name? Did they call you Midori? Did they call you Man? What was the name?
I didn't change my name at all. It was still Midori.
Midori.
Nothing ever changed. Starting from the end to the beginning.
No, just when you decided that you wanted to go from feminine to masculine.
I was with I would say it was the third married couple I was with. The way I was, because my hair again is long, it was longer than this, and she showed me that she did not like that. So in order to be, I guess, accepted by being gay or being lesbian, in my mind, a stud didn't have long hair. A stud had short haircut, a buzz cut, fade, all the things like that. Looked like a dude. And I ended up cutting my hair completely off, very short, up to my ears, to come off as being male or being a masculine presenting person, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So we have Sam, who transitioned to a woman, changed her name legally, got the implants, walked in that thing. We have Midori, who was like, I can't have long hair. I need to be masculine as a stud. And so this is where we were at. Now, where I want to go and where I want to dive in, obviously before you became transgender, you were same-sex attracted. Obviously before you became a stud, you were same-sex attracted. I want to ask you, Midori, what was the introduction? When did you know that you liked girls?
The introduction, well, starting from the beginning, at 10, I was molested by one of my friends. She was maybe a year older than me. I believe that was the whole introduction to same-sex attraction. And then I didn't tell anybody, never told anybody till now, never said anything. And then later on, going into my teenage years, I was very sheltered, couldn't have any friends, male or female. So that was like in my head, well, if I can't have friends, male or female, I think it would be easier to just have a girlfriend. They can come over and nobody would ever know, which nobody did ever know. That happened, and then I told my mom that I wanted one of my friends to come over my house. Kind of said she went to my school, but she didn't. She went to a boarding school outside of my county. So I found her back then on MySpace when we had those things, when MySpace was MySpace. We were on MySpace. She came to my house. We had a sleepover, and we didn't do anything sexual, but we kissed. That was it. And later on, when I was around 16, I was, given that male attention by somebody way older than me. I'm 16, he's about 27 maybe. That's my first male interaction, like face to face, outside of school. You know, you had that school boyfriend, girlfriend thing, but that's not real because you don't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. So that happened, and then I had my full experience sexually with a girl at 18 when I moved to Las Vegas. That was my first full lesbian experience at 18, not knowing pretty much anything, but I knew that we had sex.
So the introduction was the molestation by an older friend.
Yes.
And so you just was like, this is what I'm supposed to do? You just liked it?
I was like, well, it seems easier. I couldn't have male friends, and if I did, it was like, no, you can't do that. I very, very shunned. Went to school, home, church. That's it. You didn't go anywhere else. Couldn't talk on the phone. Normal things that kids can do and things where kids were exposed to, I didn't have that exposure. So the first person that gave me type of attention was a female, and then an older male, twice as my age. So it was like, well, what do I do?
So Sam, I guess the same question. What was the introduction? What happened to where you realized I am same-sex attracted?
I think all of my life, even when I was young, I always felt different. I knew that something was different about me. I didn't know what that difference was, but you know, people will tell you what it is before you find out. And so people would always say I was feminine, and before I knew what feminine was, and people would always call me gay in school. And at that time, I wasn't really attracted to nobody. You know, I was just being a little boy going to school, and people would bully me and say these things to me. And it wasn't until I was probably about 7 years old that I went to a friend's house, and his uncle actually, you know, basically molested us and told us to do what we saw the girl do on the TV screen, because he had pornography on the TV screen, and he said, I want y'all to do exactly what you see her do to me. And I was like, I don't know, because I shouldn't be here. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. But he kind of told us if we didn't do it, you know, like, he would hurt us. So we ended up doing it, and I remember when I left that day, something in me just kind of broke and shattered, because I had never been exposed to such darkness. And I feel like that's when something really entered into my heart that I didn't really have language for. But as I really continued to, you know, just go through life, even at that young age, almost like month after month, every other week, we would be at this house, and he would continue to rape us and have us do more and more things than we did the last time. And before you knew it, it just became normal. And so because it became normal, of what you actually didn't like, you actually begin to enjoy, because sex is enjoyable. And so I began to enjoy it at some point. And next thing you know, and I just started really exercising that with other people at school and with people that I would meet. It was like we would just kind of, you know, see each other, and we kind of, I don't know how we did it, but we knew, and then we would kind of make it happen, and that happened all the way through grade school. So I think I was kind of more so introduced to it by the molestation that happened, or the rape that happened at that time, and it just kind of grew in me. Like I said, I was different all along, but I can't say that I knew that I was attracted to men. I can't say that I knew I was attracted to women. I just knew that I was different, and people told me that I was feminine.
Okay. So, fairly, everyone was introduced to same-sex attraction through molestation. And I say everyone because me as well. I have never, ever been touched by a woman, but every time that I was violated, it was by a man. Every time I was violated, the first time I was molested by my babysitter's son at 8 years old. My dad, a man, even though it wasn't sexual, he tried to kill me when I was 10. A man, a neighbor across the street, older man, rapes me at 12. A man at 13, I was 27 and I got pregnant. So for me, every encounter with a man up until then was so horrific. It was so volatile. It was so detrimental that I looked at them as the boogeyman. I looked at men as monsters. And women in my life, whether it was my grandmother, an auntie, a godmom, a friend's mom, they were so nurturing and they were so caring and they were so loving that I kind of started to build an attraction from there. There was this one little fast heifer that I met. As a matter of fact, I was liking her boyfriend, and then me and her ended up becoming friends. And she was a little older than me, and we were becoming friends. And she invited me to her house, and Jerry Springer was on.
Oh, Jerry.
And Jerry was on, and it was these lesbian couples, and they were fighting. It was a love thing and whatever, and me and her were watching it, and then next thing I know, she was like, "You ever been with a girl?" Now, mind you, I had already had thoughts of it, but I never crossed over, and I was like, "No." And she started doing stuff. She started doing stuff, and so I was like, "Oh, okay." And for her, it was normal. She had already done this for me. Now I'm in love. My nose wide open. You done put in my sugar cookie. I love you. We go together. And she was like, that was just the girl. Don't follow me around the school. I'm following her around the school like a puppy. You didn't kiss my lady parts. So we go together. And so that was my introduction. But then she was like, no, we're not doing that. For real, for real. So then I started again back dealing with men. And every time I dealt with a man, it was something abusive. It was something detrimental. So now, after that one experience with that young lady, now I knew what to do. I knew that I wanted to do it. And so I started dealing with women. Even though people know my testimony about the dancing and the prostitution and the porn, obviously I was with men, but who I chose to love and go home to was a woman. But I say all of that to say that it seems like a lot of times same-sex attraction, perversion in certain ways, because everybody thinks perversion is just homosexuality, but perversion is very broad. But I think that the door is open through molestation a lot of times. And I know not everybody that's watching this, I know y'all can get in the comment, I ain't never been molested. Shut up! Piggy said shut up!
What's your blessing to see?
Everybody, but 9 times out of 10, from a lot of people that I have met, that I've sat down with, that I know that are same-sex attracted, homosexual or lesbian, bisexual, most of the people that I have encountered, they have been molested by either the same sex or the opposite sex, and it forced them into that. And so I wanted to just hint on that molestation does and can open up the door to same-sex attractions. So now, Pinky, okay, girl. So now, she feeling some type of way. She like, this different. This. What y'all talking about? Okay, so now we know who we are. Now we know you. And why a stud, Midori? Why you couldn't be a femme? Why did you choose to be a girl?
I was a femme in the beginning. When I was married to my wife, I was definitely a femme. And she was
Hold on. You was married to a wife.
yes.
You married a woman.
Yes.
Now we're not gonna skate past that. Now how did we go from, okay, I just decided that I was gonna be a stud, to now I got a wife? How did we get there?
Whew.
Yeah.
So
Walk us through that.
let's go back a few years.
Okay.
So I ended up coming back to the East Coast at 19, 20 years old. I ended up living with my dad for a little bit, moved with my aunt. Now, I've never had a boyfriend, ever. So I ended up having a boyfriend, pregnant 6 months later after I came back. That same year, I ended up meeting this pimp, who is our officer, by the way, and
Hold on. It's gonna be a different show.
I'm trying telling y'all.
Gativities. We got pimps that's the police.
yes,
That was your man?
he was.
Okay. The pimp was the police and he was your man. And you was pregnant. Or you just had a baby.
I just had the baby,
You just had the baby.
met him.
Okay.
I'm 20 and he is 45 at the time.
Okay.
I ended up working at Walmart, and I ended up meeting later than my wife there, and she was a stud, and I was a femme, of course. And then we got married. We were married for about 5 years.
Okay.
Then we ended up divorcing, leaving the marriage, and I met this other woman, and again, like I said, she didn't like when my hair was long. I would wear it out as it is now. Didn't really approve of it. I could tell that she didn't, especially when it come off as real feminine, just like her. Like, no, she liked more masculine, more masculine presenting, giving that dominance over her. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just cut my hair. I've cut it before. It's hair. It'll grow back. It's nothing. And I end up just completely cutting it all off, changing my clothes and everything. Got rid of all my feminine clothes, anything that portrayed being a girl.
Ooh, spicy. so it just was because she wanted a more masculine woman. That was
Yes.
the only thing. It wasn't that you were trying to escape being a woman. It just you was trying to please the woman that you had.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to come back to you, Sam, because your decision to, I guess, transition from Samuel to Simone was a little deeper than just trying to please your partner.
Sure.
Let's dive into that. What happened to make you say, you know what? All right, I'm already gay. It's one thing to be gay. It's the difference between being a gay man, a gay woman, or a lesbian woman, and an actual transgender. Those
Absolutely.
are totally different levels, right?
Yeah.
So you are already comfortable living as a gay man. What happened, or what was the decision that made you go from I'm not just gonna be a gay man, I'm not gonna just be Samuel, I now want to transition into a woman?
Yeah, so like I said, when I was young, I was always feminine. People always bullied me for being feminine, so I was never man enough to be with the men, and I was it just seemed like I was always supposed to be with the girls, and so it was already, I guess the seed was already planted young, that I belonged with women, and the women would always accept me. They would always let me be around, and my friends, who I was really close with, and we kind of began to form this deep friendship and alliance. We would talk on the phone as girls all the time because they were feeling the same way. So we would talk on the phone, get on chat lines and all the things, and meet men and change our voice and talk like women. And we had this other persona that we was kind of like Destiny's Child. And so it was the three of us. And so, we ended up just feeling that way all the time. And so when I began to come out as a gay man somewhere after my 16th birthday, 17 or whatever, I never really felt comfortable, like just kind of living as a gay man. I always felt like there was just something else there, but I didn't know what it was until I went to this house where I was exposed to transgenders. There was transgenders that was over. They would play cards with us, and we would go to the club and stuff together. And that's when I realized, like, oh, you can actually change your life to become a woman. And I didn't know anything about that. So when I was exposed to it, I think that began to water the seed that was already there, that you were already feminine, you always felt like a girl, they always told you was a girl, you're on the phone with your friends and y'all talking like girls and y'all had these girl personas. And so if I can change my life to match what I'm feeling on the inside, then maybe that's what I should do. And it wasn't until they dressed me up and I looked at myself in the mirror and it felt like everything lined up. I was like, wow, okay, now I can be who I always should have been, because obviously Samuel was rejected very deeply. And because Samuel was rejected so much for who he was, I hated being Samuel. And I didn't want to be Samuel anymore. I wanted to escape that life. I wanted to escape the feelings of what I felt like every single day. And when I found this new person that I created, this Simone, it felt like for the first time everything lined up and this is who I was supposed to be. And so I was able to talk how I wanted to talk and walk how I wanted to walk, and just it felt like magic. It just felt like it just came to life, and everybody clinged to Simone. Everybody loved Simone. Simone got the love and got the affection and got the attention and got all the things that I felt like Samuel never gotten. So in my mind, I had finally found who I was created to be, and it matched up, because everybody else who was living in the lifestyle or they had transitioned, they said that's what they changed too. And so that's how I began to live like a woman.
Wow. I wasn't expecting to go this way, but I want to say something. I want to dive here for a second. You said that you started prostituting as Simone. You said that you had a pimp police, baby. That's a whole Tubi movie. But you the pimp, you the police and the pimp. I don't what's going on here, okay? But did you dive into prostitution while you were with the pimp and police?
I did.
Okay. I want to talk about that a little bit. I don't want to get off subject too much, but I do want to talk about that because obviously that's my lane. That's something that I walked through for many years, my young years, something that I walked through. And how was that for you? How was the introduction to that? And then you already had same-sex attraction. You already liked girls, and then now you're with this man who has introduced you to prostitution. And most of the time, you ain't sleeping. Women ain't paying for other women. I wish I would pay for your pocketbook. I wish I would pay to lick on you. Most of the time, the tricks ain't women. I don't know no in all my nowadays, ain't no lady ever paid me for sex. So obviously, it's most of the clients are male. Okay, right? Even with you, they said the ones that was coming to see Simone was male, right? So even though you liked women, how was that? I know I asked you two different things. I said, what was the introduction to the prostitution, and then also how does that play on your psyche, knowing that you don't even like men?
I didn't know that I liked men, but it just didn't seem to be in my cards at the moment. But how I was introduced to prostitution was he was real smooth with it. You know, he didn't portray or have the characteristics as a pimp. He was giving me that boyfriend effect. Very much so.
They're the worst one. You trying to act like you love me, and you trying to make me an employee of the month. That's how my baby daddy, I thought he liked me, and he was trying to make me an employee of the month. Go ahead.
Very protective of me. We ended up, he had me in the car, and he was like, look, remember that house we went to the other day? The dudes was playing cards. I was like, yeah. He was like, they've been asking about you. He said, so what you gonna do is you gonna go in that car, the dude's gonna pull up, and y'all gonna go to this hotel. He said, make sure that he drops you off at school. I said, okay. And the one thing that he said that it should have gave me a red flag, but I didn't, very naive, very much young. He said, make sure that he gives you your money. Last words he said. One with the man, mind you, the man was an officer too.
What's going on in New Jersey? All these pimping police. If you in New Jersey, run! Run! The police is pimps, run! What? Everybody, what is going on in New Jersey? So the pimp was the police, and then he introduced you to a police that was tricking that day. What kind of
That's different.
judicial system? What's going on? Okay.
Yeah.
So he told you to go with the police friend
And I
get
did.
the money
And I did. He wasn't the last either.
that day, or just moving forward?
Just moving forward. He wasn't the last police that I slept with, and it just introduced something that I've never seen. I've never been in that type of world before. Very much so, like Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole. You don't, something you've never seen, something you don't know, and then you trust this person. Very much so, because they're older than you, so they think that you're going to kind of show them a different way, or that you're just going to protect them. I thought so. I guess it was wrong, but you know.
And then at this point, you had already liked women. So how was that for you, sleeping with men, knowing that your heart was with women?
It was a little bit torn, but at the time I was with him, so I felt comfortable. I felt safe. He just gave me that safe space, and not only that, he provided so much financially. Anything that I needed, he gave. Even sometimes without me even sleeping with him, he just gave. So I still had that attraction to women, and still might have dipped off a little bit every now and then, but still came back to him.
All right. Now, Simone was getting that bag too, right?
Yeah.
I guess it wouldn't be hard, because my question for her was, as a lesbian and you doing that, how was that mentally? But for you, I guess that wasn't the problem, but the introduction to prostitution. Who introduced you to prostitution, and what did that do for you emotionally and mentally?
Yeah, so I was introduced to it because one of my transgender friends who was really close to my heart and still is, ended up, I saw how they lived, and I saw how they made money, and I saw how they survived. And it was through prostitution. It was during putting up ads, getting all these rich men or men who had money to come in and pay, for services. And so once I saw that, and I saw how much money that she was making, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do the same thing, because like I said, I couldn't get a job, and I didn't really want to sell my body. That was never something that I ever really wanted to do. But if that was my means of getting money, then I was willing to do it. Now, I think it was interesting because it's kind of twofold. So once I ended up doing it, one of the things that I did enjoy about it was that the people really wanted me. the guys that actually came over, they wanted me. I did something to them, and being wanted was something that I think it drove me deeper and deeper into it, because it was just, I was finally getting that bucket met, that void met of just nobody wanting me and feeling rejected. I think those men that were willing to pay and come, and they were just like so interested in me, I think that was one thing that kept me doing it. And then obviously the bag, because by the time that I would like sleep with them, some of them, because I knew how to get the bag without actually doing all the things that a lot of people was doing, because you know, you ain't got to do all the things. You know, you just got to know how to do it.
It's the gap.
Yeah. And so some people would just come just to spend time and all the things. And so I would get money from these people. And I think when I did have to actually perform some of the acts, there was many times that I actually felt worse off, because afterwards I felt like, man, I just gave myself away for this amount of money. And it might have been a lot of money, but there's no amount of money that will ever make you feel good about that. You know what I mean? So
I know
I don't
what you
care if they
mean.
pay $1,500.
Yeah.
By the time you get done, you're like, dang, I did that $1,500, but thank you for the $1,500.
Thank you for the $1,500.
You know what I'm saying? They
Amen.
appreciate
Thank
you,
you
but
for your seed.
It's crazy. That's how I felt. You know, but I felt at the end of that, though, you know, you still feel worth it. I remember sitting on the bed and thinking, ugh, I wish I can just stop doing this. I hate this, because they just disgusted me after a while. Tricks started to disgust you after a while, you know, because they just want all kinds of freaky stuff and for, you know, whatever they want to pay for it. And I just was like, I just didn't like it no more. And so, but I had to do it to keep up with the lifestyle. And so, I think for me, it was the attention that I was getting and being wanted all the time. And then it was the money that kept me coming back to it over and over and over again. But like I said, at the end of it all, I think that it was really affecting my self-worth. So what's interesting is, part of it, I felt like my self-worth was getting filled up because I got the attention. And then the other part was, it was being taken away from me every time I gave in. And what was taken from me was way more than what was given to me.
Woo! My. Make a thug cry. Woo! I want to ask you, did you have mommy issues? Because you became a woman, you liked women. Did you have a sense of, because women are, you know, some moms, not all moms are good with their kids. Most are, but not all of them. And a lot of times we talk about daddy issues, and young girls run into men because they need some type of love and reassurance from a man because they didn't get it from their father. But we never really dive into mommy issues. And did you have any, and if you did, do you think that it played a role in your decisions? I'll ask you that first, Midori. You got mama issues? Well, yeah, my bad.
I would say I did. I definitely did. My mom was there, but she wasn't there.
Okay.
If that makes sense. She was present in the beginning until like I hit maybe about the age of like 10, 11. She wasn't there. In the beginning, she was working and wouldn't come home until about 8 o'clock. So again, I was a latchkey kid. I knew how to come home. I had a house key at 6, so like it was nothing. Then later on, she was severely depressed. Like when I would leave the house, she'd be in the same spot when I came back, in the bed. So yeah, definitely had mommy issues.
Do you think it played a role in you wanting to be with women because of the love and the care and the nurturing?
I think that definitely played a part, and then also being not introduced to anything, being very much so secluded as a child. Just again, home, school, church. That's it. Nothing else. No knowledge of anything.
Wow. Same question, Sam. Did you have mommy issues?
I did. I was the only child, and my mom was my world, and I was her world, because they told she tried for years to have children. That was one of the greatest gifts that she ever prayed for, was a child, and she prayed for years and years and tried years and years, and then when she finally did have me after all those years, I became her greatest blessing. And everybody said she would just light up a room when she was pregnant, and she would just talk about me all the time. And when I came into the earth, she was so excited to see my face, and so excited. I remember the smile on her face day after day, until she found some letters that I had been writing to a friend. This is after the molestation. I never shared it with her. She didn't know, even though she knew something was, a little different, because once, you have something like that happen to you, it changes you even as a child. And so my mom recognized something was going on, but I never told her what was going on. So when she actually began to find out by the discovery of these letters that I was writing to this guy, she poured them all over me on the couch one day, and she began to start saying some really hard things. She began to tell me, like, how could you do this? Who are you? You're not the son that I raised. My son, I raised you in church. This isn't, who are you? You're gay. What are you? And she was like, if you're gonna live this type of lifestyle, then you can't live in my house, and you're not my son. And so the level of rejection that I received from her in that moment was so deep that it really, 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 it really messed me up, because I thought that my mom was going to embrace me and love me and help me through this, but instead, in her anger and in her ignorance and in her fear, she rejected me, and she said all the wrong things that I think really did play a hand in what the enemy was already doing in my life. And so she thought she was doing the Christian thing, even at that, because I raised you in church. You shouldn't be like this. You shouldn't live like this. You shouldn't like this kind of stuff. You going down to that church and doing all this and that, and you living like that, so it's just everything about me was wrong in her eyes. And so, for weeks after that, she didn't speak to me. She would make food for me and put it in front of me, but not say a word. And the smile that I used to see on her face, I no longer saw it anymore. It's like almost like she hated to look at me, because she didn't know who I was. And every single day, she didn't realize what it was doing, but it was just damaging my heart in such a way that I don't even have words to explain, because how could you go from loving somebody so much to then just kind of like hating their very presence? And so I had to live with that, because she talked to me different. She was skeptical about everything that I did. I think that's where performance came in, because I started telling her, Mom, I don't do that no more. Like, this is who I am. And none of that ever moved her to ever smile at me like that again. It was shortly after that she found out she had lung cancer. And then once she found out she had lung cancer, she was 48 years old. She basically got diagnosed on a Monday, and she died the following Tuesday. And so we never got a chance to reconcile. We never got a chance to build that bond again at that moment. And so she left me at 16 years old to go, be with the Lord. And I had to be at the house by myself. And so I never got a chance to hear her ever affirm me. I never got a chance to feel like she wanted me after that moment that she found out. And so I dealt with a very, very, very deep, wound of rejection. And so, yeah, I felt like that really played a big role in just me wanting to be loved and wanting somebody to care for me, wanting somebody to just love me, and because I thought I was so wrong because of what I was doing, something I had no control over, and so, yeah.
I wanna kind of dive into the parents' rejection of their children once they find out that they are same-sex attraction. Did you ever experience anything like that from your mother or your father once they found out that you liked women?
No, not when they found out I liked women per se. They never really said anything. But when I had that friend, they did raise some eyebrows. That did give off like, no, you can't even be friends with her. Like, tell her no. Like, y'all can't see each other anymore. Y'all can't interact anymore. Like, and I would hear the F derogatory word spread around a lot. You can't be that, things of that nature, and that just kind of turned me off a little bit, just to them, and then like, oh, maybe that is bad, but I don't know, because that's what I like right now. That's what I assume that I like right now.
I wanna say something to that, because when I quote unquote came out to my mom, I had expected a reaction like kind of like your mother. My mama crazy. Something's wrong. And so when I'll never forget it. I was sitting in the bathroom while she was getting ready. I was sitting on the toilet. I wasn't using it. I was just sitting there, and she was getting in the mirror getting ready. And I just came out to her and told her that, such and such is not my best friend. That's my girlfriend. And she just kind of looked at me, and she was like, ew, and I was like, yeah, I'm gay, that's who I want to be with, all of that. And I just knew she was going to throw me out the house. I just knew she was going to put paws on me. I just knew she was going to act the fool. But she was total opposite. In that moment, I believe we bonded more than we ever did. Her response to me is what I needed at that moment. And she was just like, you're nasty, but I love you. You got your liquor license, you are sick. You bumping tail, you is sick, but she was very comical about it. She was very like, girl, I could never, but you like that? So how was that? And like, she became a friend in that moment, and I needed that, and we bonded over that. And I never expected that. My grandparents are super religious. You talk about grew you up in the church, that was them. And so when my mama, because she had to tell the whole family, she had to tell everybody, Dee Dee like girls, and so their response, I just knew, here come the judgmental Christians, about to beat me down with the Bible and the scriptures and all that. But even my grandmother, my grandfather was like, you know what the words say, but we love you regardless. You don't have to be in support of that but you still can be in support of your child. And so for me, I hear horror stories like yours, where the parents, I had a friend of mine, as a matter of fact, the girlfriend that I came out to my mom about, when her father found out, he drew a gun on her. It was like, I'm gonna kill you, you know what I mean? Because I'm not raising that, and all of the things. But that wasn't my experience. And I believe because they didn't reject me in that moment, it helped me along the way. Because sometimes rejection, for any parent that's watching this that feels a way about their son or their daughter having same-sex attraction, your response matters. Because rebellion will come from your response. When I'm telling you, rejection opens up the door for rebellion. If you reject us, we're gonna rebel. If the thing you hate the most, we're gonna dive into it the most. And so whether you like it or you agree with it or you don't agree with it, all we need in that moment is for you to love on your child. You don't have to love the sin just like God. He does not love the sin, but he loves the sinner.
Yes.
You don't have to love the action or the choice or whatever, but you do have to love your child through it. And that love might get them up out of it.
That's right.
And so I just wanted to pause right there, because you didn't really have you heard things, but they didn't reject you. Your mom had a different approach when she found out. My mom actually shocked me because she became a friend in that moment, but my father, on the other hand, was like your mom, which I thought was a little strange, because most men, your daughter, I know when it comes to their sons, it's a little different, but your daughter, I don't know, I just thought that I was going to get the same response, and I did not. First of all, Jamaicans don't really play all that. You know what I'm saying? We don't really play all that, And so my father's side is Jamaican, and so, it's a different thing over there. You know what I'm saying? And so when he found out, I thought that I was going to get that same love and acceptance, but I was called everything I was going to hell, and God didn't make Adam and Steve, and all of those things. So I went through that same rejection, the same ridicule that you went through with your mom when she found out about you. I went through that with my dad, but then I had a mother and grandparents that kind of loved me through that. I want to ask y'all, because you said home, church, school. You said, Mama said, you wasn't raised like this. I grew you up in church. You know God. So I know we millennials. We are not Gen Z, X, Y, because y'all retarded. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can say that on the thing. You two don't take my video down. I'm just playing. They a little touch. I say anything after 1990 might be okay. Anything after 95, I don't know. Anything after 2000, absolutely not. Anything more than after 2000, questionable.
What's your blind need some glasses to
I
see?
think normal people stop being born in 89. Honestly, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Anything after 89, little question mark. 90 to 95, maybe you might be all right. 95 until 99, 2000, you're done. You're done. You're done. So we grew up. We're a little older, so we didn't go with this. God made me this way. We didn't grow up like I'm loud and proud. It was shameful because we knew what the Bible said, right? We knew that God created man and wife and all of that. So I want to dive into being that you grew up in church and you knew God and you knew the word. How did that mess with your spirit? Knowing that what you liked totally went against his will.
Some days it was good and some days it was bad. I would still go to church every Sunday with my grandparents, or I would just go to church with my aunt. But in my head, I was like, God don't like this. Like, even though my grandmother was a founding member of the church, you going to church every Sunday, you going to Bible vacation, study school, you going to all the things, especially if she paid for it, you going.
Every time the door open.
Hello. And she would say, if I would bring a girl home, she'd be like, that's your little friend. She would never say the word girlfriend, but that's your little friend. She knew what it was, but again, she still loved me through it anyway. And I was always like, God don't like this, but he might love me anyway. And sometimes the pastor might preach a word that's against what you're feeling at the moment. Like, I'm not gonna shun you because you're homosexual, but I'm not gonna marry you either. So at that point, I was like, maybe I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not sure either. But I know, but they say God still loves me anyway, even though I'm living this way, even though I'm portraying this person when I'm in the church and not outside of the church.
Did you bring your women to church? Your women's? Did you bring them to church?
There was a few of them, but no. But the last
There
married
was
couple,
a few. Look at her. She
few
tried
of
to
them,
look
that's
at
but the
her.
last married couple I was with, they were in church. That's the ironic thing.
Hold on. The last married couple you were with? We're not gonna skate past that. You were with so you was in a poly relationship?
Not necessarily.
Okay. What do you mean the last?
I was with her. Then he saw I was with her, so he was like, I want you too. So some days when she wasn't home, it would be, he was like, I want you too. And hello, it wasn't free. So you was going to give me, you wanted something, I want something too.
What in the freak Nick is going on over there? You with the married couple and he had to pay, but the husband had to pay, but the wife got it for free.
Basically, that's what it was.
Girl, I
But
thought
they
I
were
was
in church
crazy.
too, and that's the funny thing.
Y'all
They
went to church.
all up in church, praising God and portraying as a man of God and all the things, but he definitely was not.
She said it.
Spicy. He was portraying to be a man of God. He was in the church and he had his wife and his concubine. His concubine on the front row praising the Lord like ain't nothing going on. All right. Okay. All right. Don't go to New Jersey. You got pimping police and the whole family going
Oh,
together.
Florida.
Okay. All right. All right. So Sam, you
Yeah.
grew up in church.
Mhm.
You knew the word.
Mhm.
How did that mess with your spirit, knowing that you were, even before we got to Simone,
Yeah.
just as a gay man, how did you deal with that?
So I was confused and conflicted.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I grew up in a Baptist church, and in that Baptist church, man, they didn't play. You were going to hell for everything.
I grew up Baptist.
Yeah,
Yes.
everything you was going to hell for, especially my thing. my thing, you was going to hell for like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus was, if you didn't get your life saved today, you going there tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But I was confused because they was doing all kinds of things, and
Right,
but they
not
was
right.
preaching, and they was sitting on different boards, and they had roles and things, but they was okay. They was smoking cigarettes
Talk about
outside,
it.
and they was doing all kinds of stuff.
Talk about
and
it.
I remember one time
Uh-huh.
I thought somebody in the pulpit was sleeping with somebody in the church, and I heard people talking about it, but they was all okay.
Hello.
And
I,
so-
I want to put me and Pinky got to talk. Me and Pinky want to say something because I grew up Baptist. I grew up in a Baptist church, like you said.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's all churches, but I know for sure Baptist. A lot goes on in the Baptist
Lot
church,
goes on.
okay? And for whatever reason, homosexuality is the only sin. It's the only sin that will send you to hell in the Baptist church. And when you say that you were in the Baptist church and your sin was going to send you to hell, but there was stuff going on behind the scenes, I want to make sure y'all know for all you Baptist. I'm gonna watch my mouth today. For all you Baptist judgmental people, I got turned out in the church, in the Baptist church. While they were preaching about homosexuality and all of these things, it was the choir member from the Baptist church that introduced me to prostitution. Mind you, I had encountered two different pimps that could not get me to be employee of the month. But the Baptist girl at my Baptist church in my Baptist choir
Mhm.
is the one that introduced me to prostitution. I've never said this publicly. Oh Lord. I'm getting ready to say this too because because judgmental Ninja Turtles is in the land.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And there's somebody that's gonna watch this that's gonna have a whole lot to say and all of the things. But I want to say this because a lot of people in the church will send prostitutes to hell. They'll send homosexuals to hell, but they will not sweep around their own front door. And so for me, every experience that I encountered happened in a Baptist church. The choir member with the prostitution, and then I never ever told I don't think I've ever said this publicly. But I'm gonna say it now on my podcast. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say it on my podcast. In the Baptist church, there was a youth pastor. Mind you, I was in the youth choir. My grandparents grew me up in church. They kept me in church all the time. And so because I was there, obviously you build relationships. The youth pastor, the choir directors, the kids in the choir, everybody becomes like family. And so one particular day in this Baptist church, the youth pastor told my grandparents, "Oh, don't worry about coming back. I'll just drop her off." Because they were saying, well, she's going to Gardena for all my LA people. She was going to Gardena today to her mom's house, and he was like, I go that way too, so I'll just drop her off. No red signs, red flags, no issues. And so the youth pastor, after our choir rehearsal, takes me to my mom's house. In the car, he starts rubbing my leg. He starts rubbing my thighs, and I'm 14, 15 years old at this time, and I just became stiff. I became handicapped. It's like I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. This is the pastor, you know what I'm saying? And when you're in the youth groups, you're closer to the youth pastor than you are the senior pastor, the overseer. And so he was just rubbing my thighs, and he was just rubbing my legs. And I think based on my response is what he was going to do next. But because I didn't respond a certain way, I guess it kind of made him pull back a little bit. And I share that to say that a lot of times, and in a lot of these churches, a lot of these folks ain't right. It's a hospital.
Yeah.
We cannot expect everybody to be healed. Most of these people are sick. But once you walk into a level of authority, anointing, and you have titles and positions, you should be living a certain way. There is an expectation. However, those that are supposed to live according to God's word, they do not. And instead of them showing their own struggle as a testimony to say, hey, I love God, I'm anointed, I'm called, but I struggle with A, B, and Z. A, B, and C. I rather expose your sin to get the attention off of mine. And I experienced that in the Baptist church. So when you say, hey, they were talking about the homosexuality and that we were going to hell tomorrow and all of these things, you will be sitting into a service where homosexuality is preached on the most, as if gluttony is not a sin, as if unforgiveness is not a sin, as if bitterness is not a sin. Masturbation, fornication, shacking up. Most of them ain't even married. You been living with your baby daddy, got 17 kids. Y'all ain't never went got married. But now little Tinkerbell over here, he going to hell. I want to pause because we're almost out of time. I'm going to listen. It's so much that I want to dive into on this show that we're going to have to split it up. So that means that you're going to have to tune in next Friday as we go into part 2. I am so grateful. Hey, I didn't bring my bill because every time we got guests, I got to do a little ring-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. I am so grateful to have my brother, my spiritual daughter, Midori, on here to share their testimony, part 1. But y'all got to tune back in for part 2 because we're going to go a little deeper. All right? Me and Pinky said we'll see y'all later. For all you brands and companies that want to partner with the Free Me Friday podcast, I want you to go ahead and email us at the email that's on the screen right now. If you got wigs, if you got shoes, if you got bullhorns, if whatever you got going on and you want your company or your brand to be featured on the Free Me Friday podcast, hit us up. Me and Pinky are ready to work with you. Let's talk. Email us now. I can be your brand ambassador. Why not? Me, Jesus, and Pinky. Hit us up right now. Thank you kindly.